All right, hold on. All righty, so let's see here. Where are we? We should be right here. Yay! All right, we are live. Okay. Give me 1 second, of course. Ooh. Hold on. This is Clarissa, you guys. I know I'll have to edit this out. Hi, everybody on YouTube. Can you get the nails out? There's a broken board and nails sticking out. So just wanted to let her know. She's got to take care of that. Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that. Welcome back to Everything Horses and More podcast. Y'all know who I am, your host, Caroline Best. And you know who my lovely co-host is, Lydia Primavera. And today we have a special guest, Rahanzia. And Rahanzia, you've been a guest several times. Hello, welcome back.
Hey, hi, everyone.
And today's topic is going to be healing with animals and our animal spirit guides. And so I can't wait to dive in. I'm going to do a little introduction about, oh gosh, I don't think I printed that out, Rahanzia. I don't think I printed out your bio. I did in the email notification that went out to everyone. So maybe I'll let you give everyone, I'll have to let you give everyone a little bit of your background. So go ahead, my dears.
Well, I've been doing healing and massage, energy healing, and traveling around the country for about 30 years. And we started doing, I've loved horses all my life. So I started at 3 years old drawing them and going down to the fairgrounds to work with the just hang out with the cowboys, and anybody that would let me pet or ride their horse, I would be so grateful. And they would think it was funny and put me on these wild horses, and I would just ride, till I fell off. And I never got hurt. But I think the horses knew how much I loved them. They just knew.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I started doing the therapy with horses with a friend in about 2002. And that's when I started realizing that the energy moved in the horses so much easier than people, because they're not hanging on to anything. They're just in the moment. And so there was this mare that her legs were all swollen. And she was pregnant. And within 15 minutes of doing energy healing, they all went down, and the owner was shocked and we were shocked. And then, the mare didn't want me to leave the stall. So I said, well, okay, I'll come back, and help you. And then she calmed down, and I said, wow, she felt that. And then the owner said, well, ask her when she's going to have that baby. And I said, okay. So I asked her. And she said, she showed me 3 moons. And I said, wow. And then that's actually when she had the baby. So wow. I realized I could hear what they said too. So that started a whole opening and just working, on that level and working energetically with them. Some like the massage better. And some like the stallion she had, which was so sensitive, really didn't like the massage and liked the energy healing more. And you would sweep his aura, and he would just become this big puppy dog and go, oh my gosh, thank you. That's so nice.
It's like Smokey. Remember working on my smokes? Yeah. He was in so much pain towards the last few years of his life with his arthritis. But God, he loved you, and he loved the machine that you would bring. And it's just amazing to see, I haven't been around you working with any animal except the horse, my horses, but just amazing to see how they respond to whether you were, and what is that machine that you have?
It's the Chroma puncture machine. It actually just has all different colors. And then it has fiber optic cables that the light goes through. So you get a laser light coming through.
Yeah.
But what was so funny is the people that were working at your place, when I would drive up to the property to work on Smokey, they were telling me like all the horses knew I was coming. So they're all aware, you know, they're all so one and connected that they would all start running. And I thought that was interesting that they noticed that.
You know, it is. And not to go off on a tangent, because we're going to talk about something a little bit different, but the energy work, if we all have the ability and capacity to heal ourselves and heal others. And I wish that everyone would be open to this way of being and believing and taking responsibility to take care of themselves as well as anyone else, you know, other people, other animals, because it's really amazing, you guys, when you can get to the level, for the lack of a better word, where you can tune in to your own vibration and the vibration of others, like a tuning fork, as I call it. You become a tuning fork, you know, your chakra system's aligned with your spine, and then how you can use your hands, obviously, as a conduit to funnel and control and guide that energy. I have a video. I'm glad that before I forgot, I think it was this summer, Blue, for the first time, had pulled a tendon. I'm not sure what he did, but he came up lame in one of his front legs. And it was a little swollen down on his pastern, and I could feel the heat. It was pretty serious. And I mean, he was almost 3-legged. So I had him pretty much in the stall most of the time for about a week. And that was the first time. And I think I was too busy to stop to pay attention to it. But the second time that, like, he healed, and then like a month later, he re-injured himself running. And Janine was there with me, and I took the time to do energy work, and I asked her to film it. And I need to put this up on YouTube, because you can see me never touch him, but use my hands, the energy of my hands, whether I was helping the nerves or the inflammation, everything. But you can see his nose follow my energy in my hands, and he kept picking up his leg and he'd move it like Smokey would do, whether you were working on him or if Smokey had the beamer attached to his knee, and Smokey would manipulate the control of the beamer to turn it up or down. That horse was crazy. Crazy smart. He was something. But Blue, you can watch, you can tell it's real, because Blue is for the first time feeling my energy in such a powerful way, and it's working. And you can tell he's telling me when it's too much by taking his hoof, lifting it up and away from me, and then putting it back down. And then you can see how I'm playing with the energy, between my hands and his pastern area, and figuring out how much he can handle. And it was just amazing. And yes, this was 13-minute long video. And I think I did one more session with him either later that day or that next day, and he was cured. It is amazing. And it's not anything I think about. It is intuitive. That's where you want to get. You want to allow the body to tell you. And I think you're going to be working with an equine, and obviously, Rahanzia, you've done this in your work before. But when you work with an energy worker who is works either with humans or animals as a masseuse, a massage therapist, the best ones I've ever been around have hardly laid a hand on the horse, and they allow the horse's body to tell them where they need them, and obviously listen to the horse how much they need. So it's just pretty powerful. We all have that ability. It's beautiful.
And we do, and it's a memory. And you can also there are techniques, and that's some of the things that I would do when I would travel around the country, is teach people how to remember how to do this. And because there's different techniques that we were shown that help wake up your memory as
Oh,
to,
wow.
how to remember. We've all done this. We've had many lifetimes where, especially those of us living a spiritual lifetime, have done, many lifetimes where we've done.
Yeah, because where does this come from? I totally agree with you. It's like, I don't know where this comes from. I haven't studied anyone. It's just something that I've tuned into, honed in, listened, and let it be my guide. I couldn't teach anyone any more than what I'm talking about, except, to dive into the chakras, the work that I do, but it is definitely some ancient memory. I do believe that comes up.
Yeah.
Well, my dear, how would you like to, we were going to begin with a prayer to set the intention. You wanted us to, as you say, just being aware plugs us in, connects us. So would you like to do a prayer?
Sure. And, one of the things that was shared with us too, we've studied with some teachers and swamis that have spent, a lot of their life in ashram. And so one of the things that was shared that's so amazing on a level after you've done it for a while is that we live a lot of times in our psychological mind. And so when we just say to ourselves, I'm now going to read this book, this high holy book, in the psycho-mystical mind, it turns on different transmitters in the brain. So that's something that we can do. Like even today, let's just turn on our psycho-mystical mind and open our hearts. We open to the highest truth on this day, surrounding this whole podcast in light and love, and that people receive exactly what they desire, and what's the highest for them. And we open to our spirit guides, to our gatekeepers, to our ancestors. We welcome them in at this time to assist us on anything that they desire to help us with. And whatever intention that anyone desires to receive from this, just open to it. And we send the highest light to everyone. And so it is.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So talk to us about, and we've already kind of done an intro, healing with our animals. And it's kind of a two-part, because it's healing with our animals, which we were talking about a little bit, and then allowing our animals to be our spirit guides, and what that means, how that shows up. I know Lydia, I talked about this in a previous podcast back in June. So I'll bring up a little bit about my experiences with any animal, but please lead us in. Where do you want to begin here?
Well, many of our animals that we have are animal spirit guides. They come to us to assist us, and many have chosen to be with us before we were even born. So they come in, and if we're not in ego, we will bring them into our lives. Some people will say, oh, that's too much of a bother, and oh, I don't have time for that. And it's crazy, because they're here to help us. We think that we're taking care of them, when in truth, they're really taking care of us. And, there's just so many experiences people have had where the animals have healed us, and they're constantly sending us energy. They're constantly healing us on many levels. And it was shared too that our animal guides, our spirit guides, those souls will actually, I just lost the thought for a second there. What was I going to say about that?
The spirit guides, that they will help us. They're always there waiting.
They're always assisting us constantly. And so gosh, I lost the thought there. Okay, anyway,
That's okay.
so.
No, I'll bring up my story. I totally get that. I've mentioned so many times for years, and then of course through my podcast about my Trinity legend, Smokey and Sundance being the only one left now, and each one passing the baton, so to speak, Legend passing it to Sundance years ago, and Sundance I don't want to start crying. It's just so it's such a surrender to be vulnerable, to allow yourself. People can argue, more rational minded people can argue about what we're talking about. And it really doesn't matter. I'm just bringing that up because what matters is if you just open yourself up to the possibility of this happening in your life, it's right there just waiting for us to open up to it. It's always there, is the point I'm making. It's just, and horses are such magnificent healers I haven't worked with dolphins or elephants or other species that are socially and emotionally intelligent like the horse. But wow, what a privilege it is to be surrounded by so many horses of mine and clients' horses, that I've worked with that have graced me with their presence and whatever it is in that moment that I needed to hear.
Yeah. And that was what I was going to say too, is that they will fill a loneliness in our spirit, in our auric fields that no human can fill. And so when, we've noticed that when we have a love for our animal, it's really, there's no other, that love is very different.
It's pure. It's pure. I think that I agree. And it's pure and it's not
unconditional.
I don't want to confuse us. I love animals. I'm not saying I love animals more than I love people, but I think we all can raise our hand and say how difficult people are. We're difficult. I'm difficult. We're all difficult and challenging on some level. But animals offer such a purity of heart, like you just said, unconditional love. They accept us for who we are. And I know they come with triggers, they come damaged too, unfortunately, but for the most part, there's no ego. They don't have that ego.
Well, the indigenous people knew how important it was to be in touch with their animal guides. They sure did. We have forgotten it. And yes, we have. And so, it's really interesting. I remember when I had a reading by this Swami. It was a gematria or life reading. And I used to get really tired where I would collapse for like weeks at a time sometimes and just have no energy and not know what was happening to me. All I could do was sleep. And I hadn't shared this with him. And what he said was because I wasn't breastfed and that I grew too fast, I'm 6 foot tall, grew too fast for my blood type when I was younger, that I would go into what's called amorphia. And that sometimes I would just have to sleep for a week or 2 weeks, or, just read a book, watch TV. And it's like my energy would go in cycles so that I would just like collapse, hit a wall, and then I would have to recharge. Well, I kept hearing my guides tell me, get a dog, it will help you with your energy. So I kept looking to all the rescues and different things. It took like 2 years because I just didn't feel the right one. And then all of a sudden, one of my clients had these puppies and she says, I got to get rid of these. I said, well, bring them into the shop. We'll see if anybody. And then she came in and I knew it was her. And she was a little border collie mix. And just, it was like when I brought her home, and was with her for a little bit, I could tell how it just filled the house differently energetically. And then, even to this day, that I have not had that issue where I have collapsed energetically. That's huge. That's huge with all the healing. yeah, with all the healing energy that I use on people. And they just constantly assist me and help me, to recharge and many other
Yeah.
things too. They help us spiritually, emotionally, physically, all those different levels.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, and Lydia, you just lost your beloved cat, and we can all feel, like you can see my two dogs behind me who are gone. I can't even get two more dogs or even another dog right now. I mean, their life force was so much, and it's so interesting when you think about when our animals pass. It's like there at least one door is opening up for something else. Like you just said, Rahanzia, our animals are there to assist us in whatever we need, whether we're aware of it or not. And when you step back and think about, you're in so much pain because you miss them so much, and you can feel how their presence is still there, even though they're not physically there. And yet at the same time, when I look back, because I've had so many animals, it's like I can see the connection to where they helped me with at least one aspect of my life where I didn't even realize at the time how much I needed them, but that they were a catalyst, or they were there to support me, or a catalyst to my growth and evolution, it's just amazing. They're just amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, and the horses, I found working with the horses now, because I felt that was going to come. I was shown a picture, actually a face of a horse, before I had my farm. And I said, well, how's that going to work? And then you just allow the universe to unfold how it does,
Right.
like what's happening with you,
Yeah.
Lydia, right now. And it's like, here I am, and I have my own horses now that are assisting in healing. That is, I've always noticed since 2002, when we were doing the therapy with horses, how they would move things out of people that could take 10 years of therapy. And you guys, they would move it in a minute, in a second. And I was blown away, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And so they're even more unique as healers, I found, than even other animals. But like
It's
I
like,
said, oh, go ahead.
it's almost like they're shapeshifters isn't the right word, but they can shift so much. It's unbelievable. And like Lydia, you were saying, you've been holding a space for your beloved cat because you knew he was dying. And so much of your life was sitting still, so to speak. And I'll let you speak for yourself.
It felt like stuckness, but it wasn't. It really wasn't. But it felt like, wow, like fog's just not moving. And then he died, and then it blew a door open. Just blew a door.
Well, sometimes what they'll do too, when it's time for them to go, they will take things. They'll take things with them.
Remember Legend?
Yeah.
Remember Legend? Sudden death of Lay in May, and my husband being diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer.
Yeah.
I know Legend died.
Yeah.
To keep Kurt alive.
Yeah, they will take things from even, our family members. And, I had one of the things that we do in healing is we remove negative spirits from people. A lot of the indigenous people are aware of this. And one woman, we knew her cat actually took on the entity.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we had never seen that before. And actually the cat, it
was possessed. It was possessed.
Yeah. And other animals, you might have seen this. Other animals can take on things from people.
Yes, absolutely. I've seen horses.
Yes.
I've had some horrific experiences, you guys.
Yeah.
That were my first experiences. And after I saw them repeated, I understood. I wouldn't say that the horses were possessed, but the people were so emotionally crippled and unhealthy that the horse would not change. The horse, and I remember each one of these horses looking me in the eye, and the message was, I am here for this person, whatever that means, and you are not going to change me. I'm here. I am a reflection of them. I am, and it was more than a reflection. I'm not saying it was demonic, but Erica went with me to a couple of these because she would be hired to film at the time when we were in Pennsylvania. So she was hired to film for their personal, session with me. And it was crazy. Things that just didn't make any sense, you guys, I've never seen before. And yet this horse was identical to the person. And the message was, there was one of them where I traveled 3 hours to get there, and you have to pay me up front for the travel. And I gave the woman back all of her money. Lost in a complete day. Erica lost her filming. We just gave it to her. I just said, and wait though, and she didn't understand why. I basically said after my 3-hour assessment, which didn't even last 3 hours, it was like 2 hours. And I'm like, and it hit me like I'd had enough horses, enough experience with this. I just said to the lady, we're done here. There's nothing I can do. I cannot change this horse. What you want isn't about your horse, it's about you. And your horse is here as a spirit guide to not protect. It wasn't about protecting. It's just this woman was weird. Sorry, guys, a weirdo.
Show her
And she started out asking me a bunch of odd questions and about being a practicing Taoist that was, a little too personal, none of her business. Oh, you drink, you eat meat. That's not a Taoist, just weird stuff. And so it already started off really odd, but the horse was, I don't know what you want to call it, Rahanzia. This horse was not only an extension of her. This horse told me, back off. You're not going to change me. I'm here to what? It was so weird. I'm here for her in whatever form she wants. It's almost like this horse was her guardian, but not a guardian angel. It was dark. And Erica and I could tell a lot of really wild stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Really wild.
Well, and
so yeah, I guess you could say I've experienced a level of possession or definite the dark side with horses that have chosen to be. They choose us, you guys. I've always said this, and like you just said, it can be like your dog waiting 2 years for your dog. To me, that dog, you both were waiting maybe a couple of lifetimes, who knows, until it was the right time for you to do that level of healing. It's crazy.
And the souls, those souls of our animals, we've written to be together in this lifetime.
I totally believe that.
So,
well, I believe,
and they may come, they may come 3 different times trying to come in until we say, oh, okay, and I'll accept you at this time. But
I totally, yes, ma'am. So it's like, what? For anyone listening to this, if you've experienced this or a little bit, or you'd like to experience more of it or understand more of it, I'm going to try and take what we're talking about and make it a little more tangible. Not that it's a step by step. You can always, consult with Rahanzia, and you've got a great new website up. And what is your website?
It's Healing Horses 8.
Number 8. Yep. Healing Horses. So it's www.healinghorses8.com.
Right.
And work with Rahanzia privately, but just be open is the first step. Just be open and listen. And, how do you know when an animal spirit guide or totem is coming your way? That's important too. You've got to be aware. You have to be tuned in to acknowledging that, wow, I've never seen that bug before, or wow, there seems to be a lot of birds around lately, or frogs, or to me, it's like messages, like how many times do I keep seeing the same animal reappear? To me, that's how it works for me. It's not just a one-time thing. It's if this hawk keeps appearing, or the eagle, or the crows, you know, I'm like, what's the pattern here? Or what is the message? And then that's, yeah.
And we all have one pure totem, and that is with us our whole life. And so like one of the friends that I have, her totem is the woodpecker. So whenever she hears the woodpecker, she will listen, and then she will take it into meditation and receive the information. So
now, how do you know for those out there what your one totem animal is, or spirit guide?
Well, for me, you know, it wasn't shared with me by a Swami. So I was like, okay, what is mine? So I sat with all the animals that came. You know, I had a white wolf come to me in a bonfire one evening, and I knew that was a guide. So I got a tattoo of that. And a tattoo is a whole other energy that when you bring in that guide, oh my gosh, it's like a rite of passage. I mean, it took me, it took me.
That's the symbol for horsemanship in Chinese, the Tao. That's my logo, the Tao of horsemanship. It takes on a whole nother energy, is right.
Yeah. And I was amazed, because I was thought, oh, you know, well, I'm just going to, and then I was like, whoa, it actually opened me up to the animal spirit world when I got it. And it took me 2 days to just process all that was coming in. I just had to be with it. And I was like, whoa. And then it showed me all these other animals that wanted to come and be a part of like a collage on there, which I haven't really done it yet, you know, but there were interesting different ones. So I was sitting with all of that, and then just kind of asking, you know, I would just ask, and it took quite a while, because it was like, okay, well, that tiger, lion, you know, all these different things, you know, what's all these different birds, you know, you just kind of sit with them. And then one came, it was kind of loud, and it said caribou. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So I kind of just looked it up, you know, what are the spiritual meanings and characteristics of caribou. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Okay. And then I would sit for, I don't know, you know, this is weeks and months. So sometimes it may come right away in your meditation. Sometimes it may take a while. So I think for me, it was a process, so that, you know, sometimes it's just a process, and, you know, you have to listen. And so then
open yourself up again. Open yourself up.
And then I got, and then I was sitting with it longer, and then I heard, well, ask Duke, which is my horse. And I'm like, okay. I'll ask Duke, I'll see what he has to say. And then I heard, it's not what you think it is. And I'm like, okay, because, you know, we think of like kind of maybe adult, you know, like the regular animals probably we see, or, you know, whatever. So I sat with that. And then one evening I was just sitting in meditation, and I asked Duke in meditation, I'm like, okay, help me, you know, what is my pure totem? And I heard caribou. And I'm like, so that was the second time I got it. Wow. And so then I knew, and, you know, and then so now I've been meditating with it, and I'm getting chills talking about it too. But then I started meditating with it, and it's like, you know, they're known for endurance, they're known for speed, they're known for just all these characteristics that the indigenous people talk about, the reindeer and the caribou in the north. And so,
deer. Yep.
Yeah, and their vision, they can see in the snow. So they have like this spiritual vision where they can see things, and, you know, they're like the life force in the community of all the northern peoples, and so it's been interesting to be with that and meditate with it, and then the other thing with that is, because that's something you don't necessarily see all the time. So meditating on it, has actually, when I meditate and bring in the energy of the caribou, it's powerful. I can really feel the assistance of that energy. So it's pretty cool.
Yes. 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 Lydia, do you know are you familiar with the totem animals, or do you know what your
Yes.
spirit guide is?
Yes, because I always try and change it. It's back. Like I'll wish it was a horse and it'll go back to a dolphin. Or I'll wish it was a bird and it'll go back to a dolphin.
Oh, the dolphin.
Yeah, and I had I used to teach scuba diving in Maui. So I was in the water with whales and dolphins.
Mhm.
And when I heard a whale sing, that was magnificent. And when I heard a dolphin talk to me, it was profound. It was, whoa, and I was at a marine park in Florida. I had to pay to touch one, even though I've been with them for years on boats and in the
Free.
water. I actually had to go meet a tame dolphin to know this. But the trainer that was with that dolphin, she was a mama, and she left me in the swim. And I said, "Where did she go?" And she said she went to go check on her young. I said, "Well, how many does she have?" And she said, "Well, somewhere between 10 or 12, and they're all different ages. But she'll be back, and she was only gone like 15 minutes. And it's regular. She went to visit them all. And when she came up in front of me and popped up, I burst in laughter, and she mimicked my laugh.
Oh my gosh.
The trainer was like, "Oh my God, she loves you, and you speak dolphin." And I was like, "Maybe I do."
Oh, that's great. That's so
But
great.
yeah, it was incredible. So yeah, it's one of those things where I know, but I access many because being with birds of prey most of my life, they're around me all the time. And because I'm a gardener, I'm sorry, but a rock, just living beings, it's everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, that rocks have spirit.
Yes.
Also. They were
Yes.
formed, they
Yes.
were pressured, they were made. And so,
Uh-huh.
yep, I can't hardly turn it off sometimes.
Yeah. I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Trees, grass, everything. Wow. It's amazing.
And they have entities that live in them too, Lydia, in the rocks.
Yes.
And just like the trees have devas and fairies and
Yes.
different beings. So we can connect with all of those living beings, not just in this dimension, but many dimensions. And that's the thing with, we are multidimensional. We don't exist just in this dimension. We exist in many dimensions at the same time. So we can when we open to those energies, even that possibility, that they can start to communicate more with us, the more open we are. And that's so great.
And that's setting the intention that you talk about, Rahansia, too. And I talk about in my work is, setting an intention. We did a prayer, our prayer was an intention,
yes.
A mantra, a way of thinking and being that can allow for these possibilities, these messages, these guides. Yeah, I love it. Does anybody have any questions, Lydia? Anything coming up?
There was one about foundering, but that's a different podcast, maybe.
Yeah, so foundering. That's not about, sorry.
Needs tips how to get rid of it. And I'm like,
Well, you need to contact our magical farrier, Brad. And you can find Brad Kelly on Facebook, but I think he uses his middle name too. But he's our farrier, and he is the founder wizard, Brad Kelly.
Get that nutrition under control too.
Yeah, and absolutely get the nutrition but Brad can work on the feet and help get them to heal and grow out. He's just magical with founder for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and just read a little bit, just to give anyone out there, just read about what totem animals are. Is that cool with you, Rahansia?
Sure. Yeah.
And then just anything pops up, you guys interrupt me. So there are 12 Chinese zodiac signs in the following order for totem animals: the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. And I think in the Chinese zodiac sign, I am the monkey, if I remember. It's been many, many years since I looked at that. And my guide, I think it'd be obvious to everyone, is the horse. So throughout, like Lydia, like all of us that practice this, totem animals come in front of me all the time, and I'll see them in patterns, which means I'll see them often and more than once. And if I pay attention, that same totem animal will come back into my life for a period of time when I'm feeling the same way or thinking the same way. And then that gives me, if I'm aware, that allows me time to go, wait a minute, I really need to sit and meditate with this right now, and take the time to see what messages, because they've come back to talk to me, what messages they have for me to help me wherever I am. So really pay attention, you guys. Now here's the Native American totem animals and their meanings. So a totem is a spirit being, sacred object, or symbol of a tribe, a clan, a family, or individual. Some Native American tribes' tradition provides that each person is connected with 9 different animals that will accompany them through life, acting as guides. And I feel more that the horse is my strongest guide, but there's so many that repeatedly are in my life. Different animal guides, also called spirit guides or power animals, come in and out of our lives depending on the direction that we are headed and the tasks that need to be completed along our journey. These tribes' beliefs further explain that a totem animal is with you for life, like Rahansia said, both in the physical and spiritual world. Though people may identify with different animal guides throughout their lifetime, this one totem animal acts as the main guardian spirit. With this one animal, a connection is shared, either through an interest in the animal, its characteristics, dreams, or other interactions. This animal guide offers power and wisdom to the individual when they communicate with it, conveying their respect and trust. This does not necessarily mean that they have touched or spent time with this animal. And that's what, Rahansia, you were referring to in your meditation, because you're not touching or being with caribou, but they're coming through to you.
Yeah.
And so that this does not necessarily mean that they have touched or spent time with this animal, but they are more open to learning its lessons. For some, knowing what their totem animal is almost a natural process. It's as if they've always known, inexplicably drawn to the animal, or have a special feeling for its energy. For others, they wonder how to tell what their totem animal is. Here are some questions to ask yourself if you're wondering what your totem animal is. Have you ever, and this will repeat a little bit what Rahansia said, have you ever felt drawn to one animal or another without being able to explain why? This could be any living creature, including birds and insects. And I'm going to add anything in nature, like water, trees, clouds, air, grass. I love grass and I love dirt. And I pretty much will be in my bare feet all summer. I love everything. I love touching the leaves. I love everything. Fall leaves, green leaves. I just love, what do you want to call? I can't think what you want to call all of that. Bushes, flowers, love it all. So it's not, for me, it's not necessarily an animal, because you can, if you're quiet and you listen, you can hear many things in the air, in the breeze. So does a certain kind of animal consistently appear in your life? This doesn't necessarily have to be a physical appearance. It could be represented in other ways, such as receiving cards, letters with the same animal pictured over and over, unexplained dreams of a particular animal, watching television and seeing the same animal featured repeatedly, or having the animal show up. What are you most interested in seeing when you go to the zoo, a park, wildlife area, or a forest? Are there any animals that you find to be extremely frightening or intriguing? Is there a particular animal that you frequently see when you're out in nature? And have you ever been bitten or attacked by an animal? Have you ever had a reoccurring dream about a specific animal, or a dream from childhood that you've never been able to forget? Are you drawn to figurines or paintings of a specific animal? So one of the things that'll happen to me yearly, whenever, is I might get stung by bees repeatedly. What is that message? Or do I keep seeing the same insect? What is that message? And I think, yes.
Well, when the bee stings you, I would say, okay, what's happening in that moment? And what's the message?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's trying to get your attention.
What does the bee mean? Yeah, what does the bee, what's the totem animal mean? And I have that.
They have stung me to help with arthritis in my wrists and things though too. They have actually stung me so they help me keep working.
Interesting.
Yes, in the bee, the totem, the meaning for the bee is it's organized, industrial, productive, wise, community, celebration, fertility, sweetness, defensiveness, obsessive nature, and enjoys life. So I think, like you were saying, Rahanzi, when I have gotten stung by bees, I will remind myself what the bee represents and where am I in that moment? Is it a pause moment to say, hey, you need to reflect on this, or maybe you're missing something and the bee's giving that back to you, or showing you that you need to get back to X, Y, and Z in your life. That's how I've looked at it.
And just getting your attention, because it's one thing to see a bee go by or just buzzing around you. But it's a different thing if you get stung or bitten by something. That's that's going to wake you up more. So it's like, okay, what is this message here? What are you trying to tell me? And that's the most important thing. It's like, we can read all these things in the book, but when your animal comes to you, your guide comes to you in that moment, it's like, what is the message within you that's coming, and to really meditate on that, because when we look that way, it's more in the mystical. It's not just logical in a book that someone else is saying, because it can have a ton of different messages, so it's important. It's like even our dreams, when we wake up with our dreams, you can go have a dream book and it can tell you this and this. But it's like, what was your feeling in that moment?
Yes.
What were, what was happening in that, in that dream, that on the feeling level. And then you can go back and say, okay, what was the message with that? So
this is a really cool one, if I can take a second.
Yes.
This is a really good example. John and I were on our honeymoon, going down to Mexico, and all the signs to go down there, even though my mother really wanted us to go, were don't go, don't go. The truck broke down, don't go. And my mother was getting really sick. And so I made John stop in between houses along the California coast, right? I need to see the ocean, and there's no dirt because everybody owns it. And we came down this street, and I looked out, he stopped, I looked out, and the dolphins came up out of the waves moving north. And I was like, and I got a sense of peace about me. And I was like, we need to go back to the Oregon coast. And I went back to the truck and I said, we need to go back to the Oregon coast. It was that plain and simple. And when we got back to the Oregon coast, we had maybe about 5 or 6 days there before we had to come home, and 5 days before she died. Yeah. Wow. It was like bam, bam, bam. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So it's so important that we really stop and listen to those messages. And sometimes if we don't, we keep getting hit over the head. It'll get louder and louder and louder. And then it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't I hear that? I should have heard that. So I didn't have to have like a catastrophe or something happen. So
Yes.
Literally get hit in the head with something. Maybe even stand up so fast I hit myself in the head.
Or I just keep getting stung by bees. Exactly.
or bitten by fire ants or, whatever.
Yes, all the above. What's it going to take? I hear you. Yeah. So I think, for anybody out there that would like to, experience this more frequently or for the first time, I think there's a lot of great golden nuggets here to help assist you in opening your mind up and taking the time to get quiet and just pay attention to what's around you, and everything speaks. Everything to me has a message. And that's not far from any of, like you were talking about, the indigenous tribes. I mean, the Native Americans, you look at the history, they all believed in that and lived their life accordingly. Hold on for 1 second. Let me grab that. My mom, you guys, the podcast.
You're good.
Let me get it though, because we're live.
Life happens.
Yeah.
I love that picture behind on our wall.
Yeah.
I love that painting.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Mom, I've got my podcast. I will call back, okay?
Baby and a mama.
I know. That's the only thing, being
That's
live.
all
I
right.
had to edit that out.
Taking care of the herd, just taking care of the herd.
Yeah.
Stewardship.
I know. Got to take care of my mom. So it is the best I can do right now. Yeah. So anyway, anything else you all want to add, Rahanzia?
Well, yeah, remember when we were gathered at your place and we were going to, I was coming up for a riding lesson, and
Yes.
I thought we were going to ride Zor. And so
last year, last January.
Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting because I thought I would be riding Zor again, because he's so much easier to sit on with his wide back. But
by far. Hold on. Compared to Lovey, I don't know how to shut this thing off, guys. It's there. It's my mom's phone. My brother's calling. Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Anyway.
So Lovey kept putting her butt to me, and it was like, no, we're not riding today. So we just got quiet and said, okay, what is it that you want to share with us? And then that opened up to a whole other thing where she was sharing us about not having an agenda with the horses. How are we going to move forward? And it was, let the horses show us the way, where just be with them and not have an agenda with them. And then, and then it went on and on and on for a while. But what was interesting towards the end is that Lovey was showing how they can be shapeshifters, just like you were talking about the Native Americans. And they could shapeshift into different animals. They could shapeshift. The animals would shapeshift into people and, go back and forth. But Lovey was showing too how the horses could be a host for our spirit animal guides to come into them and assist us in healing. So in other words, like what I saw was the elephant energy could come into Lovey, and that elephant energy then could work with whoever we're working with on just a different energy. And that just was so cool to me, because I never had thought about that before, or it was just really neat. So a tiger, if your spirit guide is a tiger or whatever it is, could come through Lovey and then work energetically with that energy. So they're just so versatile, as far as the horses energetically. And like even the unicorn, I feel the unicorn is real, and they're the highest of the wisdom totems, and they can travel interdimensionally. So, there's just a lot more that when we open up to all of this, we can receive so much more than what we even thought was possible. You know,
Yes.
that's the really neat, cool part of it.
Where does the unicorn originate? Like, what is the mysticism, the story behind that? I forget.
Well, I think that was, I think it was probably like a horned animal that I think went back into history or whatever that it came. But see, to me, it's all in the mystical, just like I believe in a lot of things that are interdimensional beings like Bigfoot,
Yes.
because I know people have seen them.
I believe in that.
Yeah.
I so believe in that.
Yes. And we have a woman when I was living in Sedona, and we would go out to her ranch, and she would have all these, she would see the big, and it was white. It was a big white Sasquatch. And she would see it go by her window, and she would leave grapes out there for it, and on a plate. And in the morning, the grapes would be gone, and there would be hieroglyphic writing on the sand, and the plate would be turned over, and the stick would be on top of the plate. And then she would go out to her barn, and the mare who was pregnant would have all this white fur on the bottom of it from this white Sasquatch. And so, but she had all kinds of, she would take pictures and have all these white orbs and things all around. And we would go out there and hang out, because there was a lot of things kind of happen, in Sedona. There's a lot of different energies.
It's a magical place.
Yes.
Well, UFOs, if you believe in UFOs.
Yeah.
So here we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Oh,
And
cool.
just, when I was living in Sedona, I remember waking up one morning and saying, wow, I just would really love to have the energy of a horse. I just really want to be around a horse. It was so loud in me. And I lived in this little tree house on this fruit tree farm, that was kind of down in a valley, down by the creek. And I walk outside that morning, and here comes this horse walking down through a pasture. There were no horses around there, Caroline and Lydia. I didn't know of any horses in the area. And all of a sudden, this horse just comes walking down through this pasture, walks up to me. And I said, oh my gosh, thank you. Oh, wow, this is so awesome. Thank you. And I was in gratitude, and then gave me this energy and then walked off and left. Now later I heard, oh yeah, there's a horse down the road, and he gets out sometimes. But it was pretty cool that happened. So
Beautiful.
it's
Beautiful.
just being open and manifesting, whatever our intention is. It's so powerful that when we think of God, the universe, everything is possible. So it's really getting into the unlimited mind and opening up to those mystical experiences. And the Native Americans, they were all open to the other worlds and, other beings, and, it's not just us here. And so, yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
We've been
Beautiful.
educated to be limited.
Pardon me? Yes. Well, the ego is limited. The ego wants us to keep us in these boxes, in this confinement. So when we move into the psycho-mystical mind, into the mystical, then the ego, it doesn't have control over us. And, one of the things too is that when we see the beauty in all things, that's when we know we're in the mystical. There are no questions. There are no wondering why you don't, it just is.
And in the moment.
Yeah. And that's our horses, our animals are in the moment. They are in the present moment, in the mystical.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's easier said than done. I know a lot of my students struggle, with being still and being comfortable with being still and quiet, and creating that space in their daily life where they can be still and quiet. So we're here to help.
Yes, one of my spiritual teachers said the longest journey for any master on this planet is from the head to the heart. And,
I have heard that before. Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
there, you know, the India, you know, in India, they've been doing yogas and different techniques for thousands of years that help us clear the energies and get to that place where we can be peaceful. So it's a
And where we
discipline.
think with our hearts. Yeah, it is a discipline and a practice, and where we
Yeah.
think with our hearts, you know, as a lot of, I don't know what term you want to call people like this. I believe in it. We all believe in it here. But we have three brains. We have the cognitive, the cerebral brain, we have the heart, and then we have the gut. And the heart and the gut are capable, that's your intuition. You know, they're capable of picking up and understanding energy, messages, information through the nervous system way faster than we process it in our brains, however it goes to our brain. But the first place, just like the animals, through the sensory aware and the nervous system. And that's why, you know, horses are such great teachers in so many ways, is how to get more, you know, back to that intuition and not respecting the intuition, but believing in it and allowing it, and living our life a more intuition, you know, and not so much of the cognitive cerebral. Yeah, it is tough, but it can be done.
And
But it is
one of the things we can do practice with is just when we have a thought, before we speak it, when that thought is there, bring that thought down to the heart. So then you're actually speaking from that place, from the heart place. So it's a practice that, you know, the more you do it, it becomes a yoga. And then, and, you know, at first the ego doesn't like all this stuff because it wants us to stay, you know, it likes to have
very
control.
It's a fight over it.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And the ego is, you know, in charge of, it's kind of like having the little devil on your shoulder, you know, the negative thoughts, the hesitations, the criticisms, the opinions, instead of just listening to what really feels right within you. We get caught up with what will someone else think, or, you know, their opinion. So that is something.
Anything that's anti-you is the ego.
I reassigned mine. I reassigned my ego a different job. I told it
reassigned
what I wanted it to do and what it is. I said, you are a computer chip to hold information, facts, and truths to be used at a later date.
Perfect.
That is good. I just set mine aside. Okay, when it comes up and I hear it, I just say, okay, you're going to go over there for a while. You can just hang out over there. And then after a while, it just, yeah.
Mine was too loud. I couldn't even be in the same room. No.
Oh my God, I love it. Kick it out. Yeah.
You know, that's the first thing, you guys, is to recognize that. When we can recognize the difference, you know, that's awesome. And then we can start saying, okay, and it just gets less and less the more we practice with it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. This is exciting. And y'all know where to find Rahanzia, healinghorses8.com. Thank you, Rahanzia. This is a great way to start the new year.
Yeah.
And you and I keep rescheduling, but we're going to have a date where we do some filming of what we're talking about. Okay. And we'll be sharing that with everybody on our YouTube channels too. So stay tuned. We keep trying, but I'm the one that's got so much going on with my mom and finding a rhythm with being her caregiver now. And then we've all kind of been feeling a little funky and under the weather. So we're just trying to not go there, but hopefully that sooner than later, you and I can get together and do some of this. And thank you. Thanks, Lydia.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
You. Love you guys.
Love to all of you. May you always be one with your horse. And I don't have any other podcasts planned, I don't think, for the month of January. And I didn't bring my list for February, but I think Mustang Meg is coming up in February. So we we'll follow up with her. She's very popular and she's a beautiful artist and has a phenomenal program with the Mustangs. So
And
we're
you have a
looking forward.
symposium. You have a symposium.
Oh yeah, I have my symposium. So for
Q&A.
any Floridian, that's right. I'll be doing my first in-person. Rahanzi, I hope you can come to this in person. I haven't done anything. I haven't done any clinics in years. I've done private work, but I haven't done any clinics. So this is my first symposium. It'll be at Emily and Jonas's farm in Center Hill, Florida, January 28th. And I'll be working with a couple of horses that I've never worked with. And it's the power of connection with horses. So I will be teaching some of the things that I teach with horses. I'm going to bring Zor, going to bring my big boy to this. So this will be interesting. He hasn't been off the farm. No, this is going to be fun. So we're going to have a sleepover together at Emily and Jonas's. Becky's going to be there. So we're going to film it. So for those of you that can't come to it, I will be offering it. Yeah, I know, Lydia. Oh my God.
I could be there in spirit. I will be, but film it so I can see it, please.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, other than that, there's no other podcast for this month.
But you are having a Q&A that day. You're also having a Q&A that day
yes.
on YouTube.
Well, the 27th, that Friday, the 27th. Yep, we'll be doing my usual Facebook Q&A. So email me if you guys have anything you want me to talk about. All right. Well, thank you. Love to all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Rahanzia. Thank you, Lydia. Love you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Love
you.
Bye. Thank you. And Lydia, I'll talk to you after this. Okay.